Hello and Happy New Year for the first podcast of 2022, and I'm joined by Carl McSorley.
Hey up.
Paul Ray has left us hanging. He's gone out. We were going to try and do Jaws 2, even though at this point Jaws 2 has not been released. This is just a podcast for Money Train, and we've got a ret rolling with this, so I'm going to press play on 3, 2, 1, play. The last podcast me and you did was Dream a Little Dream, and that, funny enough, only came out the other day.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a delay.
And a worthy podcast it was.
Oh, one of my favourite podcasts of last year. Oh, look at that, though. It's shot in New York. There's the Twin Towers as well.
Yes.
Joseph
We
Wooden.
were talking about this, and obviously I did speak to you beforehand, and I said, obviously, watch this when it first came out, but even re-watching it last week, this is such an early 90s, almost 80s vibe. You know, how many films do we know in the 80s that started off with the New York skyliner, the kind of the montage to all the people in New York City? I mean, this film was early 2000s, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Not early 2000s, mid-90s this, man.
The mid-90s?
It's like 97, 98.
I'm going to double-check my fact check.
So in the meanwhile, I class this as a Christmas movie because it starts off, it's Christmas, and it's actually Shaggy singing in the background, "The train is coming, baby." And it's just like a montage. So I get the idea of the montage because it's almost like a Beverly Hills Cop montage of Detroit, you know what I mean? And it's got like...
Yeah.
It's got like massive, like all the setups and all the trees lights going on there in New York. I mean, a lot of it probably will be stock footage. Because I don't know how much of this is actually shot in New York. But yeah, this to me was trailing like a motherfucker back in the 90s, man. It's got so many clips where you go 90s and 90s. Have you found out what year it is yet?
Horrendously. And I honestly thought it was closer to 2000. So 1995.
Yeah, see? Ha ha!
I know, terrible. For the new year, what a way to start.
Well,
I should mention that it's the first video in the new year.
It is. Well, this is perfect. I mean, I watched this at Christmas. I had to watch some horrific films at Christmas, but this is one of my picks. I mean, it's not known as a Christmas classic at all. So Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson had worked previously together on the big hit White Men Can't Jump, and also worked on a movie called Wildcats that's I've never seen available. I'm just kind of thinking that would have been kind of funny if the woman he bumps into there was the woman who robs him later on. But they never worked together after this. And when this came out, it was Wesley, Woody. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's the era of 95 where, you know, I've got this on this guy. Thank you very much. I thank you very much. Yo. And he brings out his little do. He's fucking mint him. There you go. He's got his little trumpet in his mouth now. I just love the artwork. I mean, I've got this on Laserdisc, and I've actually got the big box VHS sitting in front of me here, which I got from Afron Jones. And when I open it up, it is a red VHS. It came out in like blue and white VHSs. There was a very, very limited run of films in '95 that were done to all the different distributions. So it was kind of thing that they were trying where you would know where you got it from, the colour of the tape.
Yeah.
So yeah, here comes the setup. It's got kind of a straight... I mean, this definitely was at the pictures because I remember seeing the big poster for this, but I don't like...
Well, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't like... Was too woke. I mean, it's an 18. I think if it came out now, it would be a 15, like. But
yeah, totally.
Again, it's kind of like Wesley Snipes was shit hot. But, like, I mean, Blade would follow in a couple of years, but Wesley Snipes was massive in the 90s. And this was kind of one, like, Drop Zone. I kind of think Drop Zone was a bit of a hit or miss.
Yeah.
I think Drop Zone was a bit hit or miss. He had some great films in the 90s. Demolition Man is amazing. Rising Sun is. It's just scored really well. It's scored by, I think it's scored by Michael Manchita, isn't it? Hang on, let's have a look.
Michael Manchita, probably find out for you.
Because he did Bad Boys.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow my nose. Well, not really blow my nose, right in the microphone. Hello, microphone. Now, when Carl has a look at who scored this music, where the guys run onto the train tracks, this is the first and for a while, and this is the first one on Apple, as I converted to Apple. Main reason we haven't been able to record any podcasts is my battery on my phone was drastically broken. It was the port charger, wouldn't charge, absolute nightmare. And I eventually bought myself a phone. Obviously my partner works at Apple, so I got a really good discount on the new 13 Pro Max, which Carl's face and right in front of us is huge. And it just took ages, because obviously the time we had to possibly do a podcast, we just didn't have a chance to do it because I couldn't flat my phone, because you've got your banking and everything on it. And honestly, the worst thing I was more concerned about was losing my Simpsons.
Right.
So I've still got my Simpsons tapped out. Don't worry, still got it. So here it comes, the money train. You found out who scored this then?
Yeah, it was Mark Mancini.
That's him.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right.
He did
Mark
Speed
Mancini,
and Bad Boys. He was a busy
done
man.
quite a few, yeah, because he's done quite a few.
But none of his scores are on vinyls. Like, I would buy them
Really?
all. Yep. But yeah, so to be honest with you, there's not much like spare no expense of the budget, because they are chasing a big train. You know what I mean? It's a big, nice prop design. It's kind of like now it would be a typical straight to DVD B movie, but this seems to have like really pushed to get it at the pictures. You know what I mean? It's flush in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, like you say though, I mean, you've said it before, Snipes and Harrison, they were fucking shit hot. I mean, even if you exclude Snipes and Harrison, I mean, you've got Jennifer Lopez rocking in this.
Well, a very young. I mean, if this came back out now,
Chris Cooper.
Yeah.
We've got Robert Blake. There's like a lot of big hitters in this, like.
Well, to me personally, if this came back out, which there's no really need for this to be on Blu-ray, and I mean, I haven't had Sky Television now for a couple of years, and this used to be on Sky Television. But they would probably repackage the front cover and have Jennifer Lopez on it somehow. When it's, it's a really well classic Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrison run behind them, the train behind them, the orange, a true 2020 vision. But yeah, you're right. It has got quite a somber support cast. I mean, Jennifer Lopez was just breaking out on herself and is absolutely gorgeous. I think she's stunning in this.
The crazy thing is, though, mate, literally have a picture in there, and then today, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the woman just doesn't age, so to be fair, I think she still carries it. But I just love the idea. I mean, obviously, we've just seen the kid getting blasted past, and I just think it's proper movies that, as a kid, you'd never really consider. But, I mean, there was a semi-automatic a handgun, but that kid flew back so far.
He did not get
He got hit with a bazooka. And it's just like, wow, they really like kind of did that in the 90s, didn't they? Like, every gun was always going to have such an impact.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen this guy in anything else but this, buddy, except for Lost Highway.
The arsehole. You know what it is, though? Like, I found this was like, it's like, he is such a hard, like, they're so, like, trying so hard to make him a bad guy. It's so over the top. I mean, it's alright, because the film is well over the top as it is. But even just this one scene, you know, it's just like, he couldn't be any more of a villain.
I mean, he's a villain that nearly leaves the room. He's not like, you know, it's kind of like they're playing the system and he's just like the face of the system, isn't he? That's what they're playing at.
Well, this is it, yeah. But I'm just having a look at his work, and to be honest with you, mate, I think you'd be right to think that you haven't seen him. I don't think. Well, this was his second off the last role. He only did one more film after this, which was 97, which is
Lost Highway.
Lost Highway,
yeah.
So to be fair, just having to scroll down, there's not really anything screaming out there. So
Woody Harrison though dropped off the radar, I think, in the 90s. I mean, don't get us wrong, Woody Harrison, right? He has been in so much. Like, he's never stopped the last couple of years. But like in the 90s, I just remember he had a lot of straight to video releases.
I'm going to say that it must have been something going on behind the scenes. You know, he might have been one of those who just like kind of, you know, bumped head with Hollywood for a second, because it did feel like he just.
He came from Cheers, didn't he? Really,
superstar to being nobody. I mean, I'm just having a flick down, and there isn't anybody mate will say that. He's consistently working all the time.
Oh no, now he is. But like in the 90s, I mean, he was
I'm talking about the 90s. I mean, you go from here. He literally. I mean, obviously, let's just say like breakout, because he's done quite a fair bit beforehand. But let's just say that the first big thing that I think he was well known for was Cheers.
Yeah.
Right. So that was like 90. That was 85 to 93. He did 4 films 94, he did 1 in 95, he's done 4 films 96, 2 in 97, 4 in 98. He was consistently fucking running. But then again, like a lot of it was TV as well, you know. Like one of the stuff he did was Fraser. It was just like a cameo role sort of thing. So I don't know if he kind of if he just avoided big roles. Maybe he was just looking towards, you know, kind of being more of a consistent actor rather than a, you know.
I mean, him and Wesley Snipes never worked together after this.
Nah, yeah.
And Woody Harrison did that Lost in London film, which I really liked, which was all broadcast live when they were going around London. And you think if he was really good friends with Wesley Snipes, he would have been in that.
I think, well, to be honest with you, I think it'll be hard to justify how many bridges Snipes burnt, you know, when he went to prison. I mean, like I said, it's, you know, sounds awful, but did people want to kind of hang around after that, you know?
I mean,
so you can imagine some people like kind of spaced themselves from it just for the sake of.
Just to cut us off there, is this the bit where watch this guy on the left here, the guy who just slips on the ice?
Yeah.
Oh, it's ready?
It's not improv, but it was totally not meant to be, was it?
It's just like, why he's walking that way anyway, and he sets his net in. But I think Woody Harrelson just reacts so great. As we get into the poker thing as well, I can't play cards to save my life. I mean, I'll probably play a snap, but it's another thing was really.
Chase the ace, man.
He's just called Mr. Big.
Mr. Big, aye.
But it's just, I mean, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I mean, it's just a good. Always something to do with cards, isn't it? But the bit where he's hanging him off the balcony, it almost looks real. You know what I mean? That doesn't look green screen.
It's good. No, definitely. I'll tell you what, though. I'm looking through Woody Harrelson's work. I would be very, very happy if you want to put a slot in for Kingpin. One of the podcasts. I'd love to watch that again.
Well, I wasn't saying like he fell in the real. He just sort of like he was in stuff like
podcast. I've just totally forgot about Kingpin until I saw it.
He was in like stuff
so good in that film as well.
Like Sun Chaser and stuff like that. I just remember like seeing like loads of films back in. Like, I mean, look at that. It doesn't look like a fucking green screen or blue screen. No. That, you know what I mean?
But do you not think like that's one of the charms with the older films these days? Is that like the way they did it, like sometimes CGI today, as good as it is, it's clear as day CGI. You know, you can watch it straight away and go, you know what it is, that's clearly a green screen.
What that?
I think you had to be more clever. In the 90s, you had to be a little bit more, you know, kind of clever with it for it to work. So
I know, but like, look at that.
If you put this on 4K, is it going to make it more obvious? Probably.
I think, you know, at the end of the day, Woody Harrelson's game, his legs are securely strapped. He's not going to fall. Do it.
Yeah, hi.
I mean, look at that surround backdrop, you know, around there. It's too good.
And you've got to have a scene with Wesley Snipes on a motorcycle, of course.
Oh, no, you don't, like. Is Wesley Snipes not at the balcony, like?
There's no reason to have that scene.
Is Wesley Snipes motherfucker? I remember the trailer says motherfucker owes him 15,000. Just drop him.
Yeah. See, this is it though, like, obviously you could probably pinpoint 100 things that's wrong with this film. But the one thing you can't deny, I personally loved White Man Can't Jump. But them two have a brilliant chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I was good the other day. I don't know what I was looking for on Facebook, but there was a signed Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, White Man Can't Jump poster for £25 framed in South Shields.
Right.
I didn't get it, like, because it's sold, but, like, I mean...
Well, I end up passing on them, but, you know, it might still be a future project, but I was tempted to get the Pop Funkos.
Well, see...
I thought, well, the benefit of that is there's only going to be 2, you know what I mean? So you don't have to worry about releasing more. But I always thought, that would be quite good, that, because I like to go a bit more obscure.
But that kind of pop vinyl, right, they should be sold as a double pack. There's no point in them being separate.
Yeah. No, I think they did in America, though. I think we didn't. I think we got them separately, but in America, I think it was a 2-pack.
It's like doing Kid and Play separate, and you think, why the fuck do you buy... Like, yeah, you're going to do a pop vinyl, a Kid and Play, great. Like, who didn't like the House Party's a class act, but, like, not a fucking... like, it's got to be a double pack, do you know what I mean? Fade to black.
Well, that's it. I mean, like I say, just what I mentioned before, there's only going to be 2 of them, you know what I mean? So it's like, you might as well, it's pointless doing 2 separate ones, but then, marketing in it, because now they've got a double pack out there somewhere, and then somebody will have to say, well, I'll have to have them all, because I'm too much of a collector.
Oh, nah, pop vinyls is just a risky business.
Like, we don't bother, do we?
Shut up, man. Have you watched the Turtles video yet?
Sorry?
Have you watched the Turtles video I sent you?
No, I don't think I watched that one yet.
The one where you're in?
No, you haven't sent it yet.
I fucking have.
Honestly, mate, if you sent that, I'll double check my phone right now, but I'm fairly sure you didn't send me that, like.
Check it up, it's me staring at Donatello, like Donatello's staring at me right now.
Right, okay, I'll,
So we're back to the entrapment game they're playing.
Yeah, so this is another thing I had with the scene, like, so it's hard to tell that, I mean, the fact that they tell you the police officers is the only real reason you believe that the police officers, because, like, it just, you don't have any time with, like, a captain. There's no, like, even that precinct could have been any building in New York City, you know what I mean? It didn't look like a police station at all. And now they're jumping in a van, and everyone's obviously clearly undercover, so there's no, like, kind of significance that they have a job. At this rate, they just hang out the subway. And
it'll be interesting where it's been filmed, because if you look at 95, New York City opened the gateway for Die Hard with a Vengeance to do a lot of stuff within the city limits, stuff that's never been done again since, blowing up at the start of the scene when they blow that truck up on the bloody, which if we ever get to finishing off the Die Hard series, the truck that blow up's the truck from the first movie. You just wouldn't get away with that there, but this is probably is probably being set bound and built. I mean, it looks like some of the same, like the common subway scenes that are probably used in Matrix. Do you know what I mean? When they had the fight scene and all that. So I would probably say it's even across the border in Vancouver.
So as we've established, we've now got 2 levels of drunkenness, one from Woody Harrelson and one from Wesley Snipes. And I think it's night and day, and that's not like a racist thing. The fact that Woody Harrelson can really pull off drunk, in my opinion, Wesley Snipes cannot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an absolute cartoon character right now. I mean, stick to the fighting, mate. You'll be all right.
Wesley Snipes is extremely funny. He is a force to be reckoned with his fighting, and he is a fucking brilliant bad guy. New Jack City.
Simon Says,
New
Jack or Simon Says, one of the iconics.
But he hasn't. It's one of the reasons why he's not in loads of comedies. I mean, he's quite a good serious actor as well. I mean, even Jennifer Lopez there. Like, why would you be dressed that nice, that wrecked, and it's just and the Steely's hat.
Yeah.
But obviously this is setting up in the background that obviously this is where Chris Cooper comes in, who at the time was quite unknown. And quite a dark, sinister story behind him as well. There's a lot of backstory, I think, completely scrapped that now they would maybe go... the thing is, this is like a popcorn movie. What is it, an hour and a half? Now, if they were to do this... It's 106 minutes. If they were to do this now, their backstory about being stepbrothers would either be set up as kids, they'd be fucking so much in depth, or this guy would have more of a, but this guy just seems to pop in like a side thing. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah. I think it's because we also know he's a big actor in the future as well. So I feel like if he'd been a nobody, you wouldn't think of much.
Yeah.
But because we know he's going to be a big actor in the future, like it's a classic talk, in it, where you sit there and go, well, this guy's clearly someone important because he's already established as a good actor. But can we just assess, like, the fact that you were talking about, like, a dark tendency and stuff like that? Like, literally something that you probably haven't seen in any other film ever is two women picking up a drunk guy to essentially rape him.
Yeah.
We're gonna bypass that, and we're just gonna say, oh yeah, they were totally like just two random women who thought, yeah, let's go and take this guy back and rape him. It's ridiculous.
It's like the lighter actor out of the two when just get, yeah, I'm into it. If you're into it, baby, she's like really like, yeah, like looking around. She's a really good extra. This bit's insane here though when he jumps across the thing, like it's a proper, but then typically for a train to come the other way. But again, like Money Train, it's just like so many like this bit when Woody Harrelson's swoops his legs over. The meter is another massive trailer shot coming up here. Boosh. She gets a little bit of a beating here. Yeah, but it's like I remember the trailer so much. Like,
and shockingly, did you know? I didn't know this until I was checking the facts the other day. And I was just looking at IMDb, and so 2 days after this film opened,
two
men actually did the gasoline on the ticket booth, and the guy who did it, who ended up dying, it was just like apparently they were saying it was definitely done to do it. So if I just quickly let's have a look just to give you some information there. So the attendant booth burnt and later died of injuries. Coincidentally, New York City subway workers called for a boycott of the film and the removal of all posters from every station. Senator Bob Dole quickly came out and supported them. Columbia Pictures refused to bow to their demands. Interesting. That wouldn't happen today.
I wish there was like pubs like this. Me and Britt were talking about it, and like just somewhere.
Irish pub.
Why, just somewhere you can have a beer. It's just not like this over here, man. Like Weatherspoons has just destroyed everything, man. It's just like there's no pubs open all hours going for a beer, and it's all right just to drop in and have a couple before beer at night and all that. And
well, that's it. You just want want to go where everyone knows your name, eh?
Well, it's unestablished a cop bar, isn't it? That's what it is. Because why would Jennifer Lopez now suddenly be there? It's obviously, it's meant to probably be a cop bar.
Yeah, 100%. McHale's, you know what I mean? It's like an Irish bar, so it's supposed to be like that kind of where everyone, like I say, goes to that place after shift.
Yeah.
We used to do that back in the day. I'm trying to think of what it calls, Irish name. You'll remember it. It was the Irish pub next to the old cinema in the Metal Centre.
You know what? Shenanigans,
that's the one.
You know what's fucking funny as fuck about that? 2 nights ago when I was last in the editing room, right, there was video footage of me and Casper eating sour sweets in that.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a good little pub. And especially like now, like the world of the day, it feels weird to say like a pub inside a Metal Centre.
Well, I mean, Weatherspoons has never updated.
Just got a chance to enjoy it, given the age sort of thing. Because obviously kids, you didn't really pay attention, but back just before it shut down, we're just starting to get that level. It was quite a nice little place.
There's an absolute brilliant line coming up. I mean, this whole backstories of being like, obviously he's got a nickname called Hook.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be brothers, and the backstory's told, and like as you said, they have great chemistry. And like the thing is, it's coming on the back end of White Man Can't Jump, and like people just wanting to see these guys in another film. So like, yeah, right, he's black, I'm white. It doesn't matter what colour you are, but like they're playing the brothers, and they've got that chemistry to make it flow. But it's another thing where it's just kind of like we've went from the idea of the train, and then the guy who's just like, don't fuck with my train. Then we've now got the Human Torch guy, and now we've got a love interest going on.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I said to you before. I think it was off camera. Where there's a lot I love about the film just for nostalgia reasons and stuff like that. But it's a really messy
And it's a Christmas film.
They're trying to get here.
Aye, but again, it's all about pushing Charlie to the limit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
But he would get the typical. This is a total rip off Bad Boys, isn't it? Because Bad Boys has one of the Bad Boys to me is one of the greatest debuts of a director, Michael Bay. You know what I mean? Because Bad Boys to me is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And this has definitely got some kind of connection to it because of the music for a start. But the fact that this scene here is a total like, oh, fuck with me, fuck with you, fuck with this, and then they turn on each other, and it's. But like, it just kind of paints a picture of New York. It's a cop bar. They're walking down the middle of the street, and they're about to just get jacked. And it's just like, fuck me, paint a grim picture. Do you know what I mean?
Question is though, which one came first? Because they both came out in '95. I'll have to double check this. Bad Boys and this, they're both '95.
They've got to. I mean, they've got to be a similar writer.
So the release date for Bad Boy was June 16th. And we've got. Let's have a look. This came first. This came May 17th. So this was 2 months. So it's got to be, I don't know, someone being on the same writing group, haven't they?
It's got to be.
Had to have been.
I mean, I would have said.
Like I say, you've got the cop who bend the rules. I mean, don't get me wrong, that in any film really when you think about it in the 90s. But in the concept of the whole buddy cop kind of action, this is very much. I mean, let's be honest. If Will Smith and Martin Lawrence were walking down the same street, you wouldn't bat an eyelid, sort of, would you? It would be like, oh, it's the same world.
Yeah.
And that would have been quite good if one of them, if both these popped up in the last Bad Boys film. You know, just when they're having a party at the end and there'd just be two cops in the background at the bar just giving a little toast. It'll be a perfect little cameo.
Wesley Snipes is, I mean, as you said there, it's just kind of like he seemed to have formed quite an established bond with Eddie Murphy the last couple of years. I mean, he's appeared in Eddie Murphy's last two movies, and Wesley Snipes seems to have really got himself back in the mainstream because obviously he's been working hard with Kevin Hart, and obviously that puts, I mean, that to me puts him back in the mainstream. And Stallone was just like, right, let's finally get you in Expendables. And he should be in the new Expendables, but I still think there's no reason to recast him as Blade. I think he should be still Blade.
I mean, yeah, the problem is that's a touchy subject, isn't it? Because obviously the first thing you're going to argue about is the fact that he's a vampire. He's now like 50-odd years old, so like he's just getting a little bit too old. And I think the way the MCU would look at it is not that they want a better Blade. I think the way they'll look at it is they want someone who can carry the torch for the next, say, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't particularly love the choice that they went with. I'm not going to be able to try and think of his name now. Mahershala Ali or something. I don't think he's got the charisma of what Wesley Snipes has. You can't be too stoic. Like, Wesley Snipes could be really, like, kind of dull and quite kind of miserable and stoic like that, but he also could cut the tension with a bit of a joke, or he could just give you a look. Whereas at the moment, I could be wrong, but Mahershala Ali doesn't quite have that for me. But I would have totally said that you could write in somewhat of a story that he's a daywalker. You know, he's half human, half vampire, so at least give him a cameo.
The guy on the
crazy thing is, now most of it is bullshit, and I'll call it now because I think it's just coming off the hype of Spider-Man and the big reveal that film had. But obviously one of the next MCU films is the Multiverse of Madness, and they've already kind of started all the hype. You know, apparently the rumour is Nicolas Cage is going to pop up as Knight Rider.
Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider.
Theory of the film.
Get it right.
They're going to dip into all these different multiverses. So they're going to have like little cameos. Even got like Tom Cruise apparently coming in as Iron Man, because the original casting was meant to be Tom Cruise before they chose Downey Jr. So it's going to be like, I reckon they might pop up in that, but...
Let's just go back to you just said that Nicolas Cage is going to turn up as Knight Rider with Kit the Cop.
Knight Rider, Ghost Rider. I tell you what though, mate, no word of a lie, if you told me tomorrow Nicolas Cage is going to do Knight Rider, I'm watching it.
Alright.
So, yeah, my bad. Ghost Rider.
So now they're all on the extra shift in there.
And you've got that bloke, and I'm going to forget his name.
It's him from it's Don Davis.
The bald bloke.
It's him again from Total Recall.
Total Recall.
In such a random little role.
Yeah. Well, it's always The Shield. That was what I always remember him of, because that was his main breakout role.
Well, not Tremors
but
TV
it's when you
series.
watch him and then you see all these old films like Total Recall, you sort of think, going, fucking hell, he was in everything.
Oh, he's in absolutely loads, eh?
But speaking of which, would you ever want to do Ghost Rider podcast?
Alright, it's one of my first ones, that.
Was it?
Yeah.
The first one's quite forgivable for the time it was done. The second one was probably one of the worst films I've ever watched.
It's just totally unfinished. Like the discount Mortal Kombat fatality bits and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my first podcasts, that, a long time ago.
Wow. Well, you could only go up from there. So, we did mention this film doing quite well. The budget estimate, of course, 68 million.
Shut up, really?
That's a lot of money, that, like, for what this film produces. I don't know where the budget came from. Which, of course, understand why it was somewhat... Well, it did well in the concept of people liked it, but it didn't do well in the concept of how much it made. I think worldwide, just under 35.5 million. This has got to be like one of the biggest flops going. I mean, it's not Waterworld flop, but then Waterworld carries itself as a good film. Well, some would debate that.
I enjoy this. It's, you know what I mean? It's one of
It's good fun. It's good fun. That's the way I look at it. It's the type of film where if someone starts picking it apart, it's almost like, well, okay.
I mean, this bit here, right? Who are you? Spanish sister. It's so racist,
totally,
but so funny because of the film.
It's ridiculous.
And it's just,
of course, you have a Spanish sister.
why wouldn't you?
White.
You are black. You are white. Who are you? It's just so funny. But I noticed you haven't noticed anything yet, but we're on about budgets and this. I mean, this might come back to the thing. Stigmata movie used scenes from this a couple of years later, if not the same year. And obviously, it's the actual money train, and especially when it's got its windows smashed out and it's got the mechanism coil that actually blow the accelerator brakes, and. Right. You know, that is actually used in Stigmata, and Stigmata was a big movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
So maybe it's they licensed some of the footage, but that was weird to think that not many people seen Money Train a couple of years ago, that they could get away with showing that what they would call it as stock footage, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, did they just assume that nobody would bother or nobody would notice because nobody saw it?
As I say, mate, I just always found it weird that actually happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's not the common, like, it's just not something you'd expect. Now, obviously, just before saying that, when you talk about a Latino sister, like, when you see them three stand together, they really fit well in the film. Now, the thing is, the actual J-Lo, don't believe she was the first choices. They originally were going to go with either Cameron Diaz or Catherine Zeta-Jones. Now, personally, just from the body of work, I'd probably eliminate Cameron Diaz straight away.
Well,
just because of the way Lopez plays it, I can't imagine Diaz being a kind of a savvy, tough female cop.
Well, she'd just only been really popular on... she'd only really been in The Mask. That was her first film.
Yeah. Oh, totally based on looks. I mean, don't get me wrong, again... J-Lo, superb job, and I think she does really well in this film to hold her own, especially against two male, well-known stars. But even as the gusto of having the balls to fight back, that sells really well. I think if Diaz had gotten a role, I don't think this would have been played the same way. And clearly, when they were looking for the people to, to kind of put in the cast role, they were definitely looking at pretty women. They weren't really looking at tough women who could, hold their own. Although, like I say, Catherine Zeta-Jones probably would have gotten away with it, but again, I feel like Lopez would have perfect casting for that role.
It was a couple of years before Zeta-Jones really found herself in stuff like Entrapment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she did great to break America the way she did.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But Lopez just blew up after this.
Rightly so. I mean, Jenny from the Block, innit?
Well, it's almost like cast a couple of years earlier and it would have been Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, aye. Well, that's it as well. Maybe this is a bit more grittier, but this could live in a speed world. If you see, like, Keanu Reeves running across the screen now, wouldn't be totally out there.
So again, a lot of it's got to be filmed in New York. There's, Central Park.
Say again?
Saying there's Central Park, so a lot of it's got to be...
Yeah, But the big question is, where's the money going?
Location?
There'll be a big set piece along the end, but I think I'm just having a hard time getting past that bit. I'm thinking, hey, how much?
Well, Wesley and Woody, I would say $5 million each.
Yeah.
Then,
Well, listen, if you don't have them attached to the project, this film didn't get greenlit, did it, really? I feel like this would be a very hard sell if it wasn't for, like, the big two cast members.
I mean, it's the 90s, so 10 million seems too much, but if you think about it, Jim Carrey got paid 20 million, a couple of years later for Cable Guy? Yeah. It was massive news.
Yeah, true.
Oh, guys, see, this got me, right? All the times we film busker nights and all that kinds of stuff, why they couldn't, like, we don't get that over here, coming to the bar with, like, a stein to share? It's just so, like, we just get a pint over here, and pints are always donkey dick, like.
Well, that's what you get for drinking in concert, though, isn't it, mate? I'm not being funny, like, oh, come on.
I mean, I don't know if I've told you this story about when we went out in Newcastle not long before the lockdowns happened. And
right.
There was me, Bell, Barney, and Chambers. And Chambers is always going to be the riff-raff of the bunch, like... Absolutely hilarious. Heart of gold, but like he's just danger for stupidity. And we got to Newcastle, and Barney had booked this bloody minibus. I think there was meant to be a lot more than there originally was. And Barney said, right, I'll get this round at the first basket, right. Bell was like, I'll get the next. Jim's was like, by the time we get up the high street and all that, I'll be at the cheap bars for me and all that. And we went to the Jägermeister place up on the big market house. He get in, and Barney was like, watch this, it's Chambers' round, and I'll have 4 steens of Stella. And Chambers was at the toilet, and he came back, and he was just rolling this £10 note in his hand, like, are they going to pay? What's going on? I was like, well, they've got to pour them, the steins. And he's like, all right. And she just turned around and went, £42.50, please. And he was like, what?
Jesus,
and he, honest to God, he nearly passed out. I mean, don't get us wrong. That's like nearly 3 bars worth of drink. And I ended up going halves for Chambers. But he almost had no money left after that. But it's on YouTube, Night Out in Newcastle, if anyone wants to watch us just get annihilated. And it was so weird that night because... I ended up meeting up with Brittany, Emily, Liam, and we're in Rise nightclub, and like we're looking for Sluggy, but Sluggy's not out and this sort of shit. It's like weird.
Oh, and how you were in Rise and Sluggy wasn't there?
I know.
Christ almighty.
I know, that was
the catch of the place.
Used to be, aye.
Mind you, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, risk of sounding like an old man, 35 years old, but to me, like, I've never been in Rise in my life. But I just felt like it's the place to be now where like a lot of the kids go. I say kids, like the younger people go, but then it seemed to be like people fucking blow up about that place. Like,
oh, it's a great night out. It's just it just feels better than like you don't feel like you're in a pub because it's in an alleyway. I mean, obviously, if it's raining or fucking snowing or anything, you're not going to be outside. But it's just a big alley like this is there. It's literally like you know what I mean. It's made to look like people are looking out the windows and yeah.
say, well, that's telling you how long it's been since I've been out in Newcastle.
It's too expensive to get home and shit now these days, man. Living now, you're
you know what the cool thing is? I mean, we never considered it, and I don't even know if it would be the same with, I'm not talking inflation, but, money was different back then. But the cool thing to do now is that people get to Newcastle, and then it's cheaper to get a fucking room in Premier Inn than it is to get a taxi back.
Aye. It is. Well, I mean, give or take. I mean,
it's like crazy idea, but sure it works.
I mean, just as Jennifer Lopez and Wesley Snipes have a little dance and all that, you just have to hear about that story. That time I had that problem with a taxi driver. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's another video on YouTube. Baboonry taxi drivers. If you want to watch that.
Yeah. Robbing bastards.
So,
I mean, at this that dance scene, that's just telling you straight away there will be a sex scene shortly.
And that's it though, but again, like now, I mean, it's not like now you wouldn't expect Jennifer Lopez to get her booties out, but you actually see flesh in this.
Oh, there's definitely a nipple, aye, definitely.
Definitely a nipple, Jesus.
Well, what? Oh, sorry, were you trying to keep it all PG with flesh? I mean, what's that? I mean, quite almighty, I didn't say vagina, did I? I mean, I know.
You just had to get it in there, didn't you?
You don't get to see a vagina, but, I'm sure you can in some films. But you know what it is, though, like, I'll always argue this, and obviously coming from a very stereotypical male, it might seem a little bit, obvious, but to me, like, these are classified as films that are not as great as, say, some great films today, or even stuff in the past. But the idea is that, to me, these are proper actors, right? And the way I say that is because someone said to Jennifer Lopez, right, there's a sex scene, we're going to do it tastefully, it's not porn, but at the end of the day, we're going to do this, that, and the other. And most women, whether you're Sharon Stone, or whether you're Jennifer Lopez, or whether you're, someone as famous or someone unknown, it was kind of part of the job. Whereas now, when you look at, like, who was it? Emily, I forget her name now. She played Sarah Connor in the new Terminator film, man.
All right, yeah.
She was in Game of Thrones. Amelia, sorry, that's it, Amelia someone. Anyway, so obviously season 1 in Game of Thrones, she's a complete fucking unknown. And she's never done anything of any note, so therefore in this film, in this programme, I mean, to be honest with you, she gets her fucking arse reeled, you know what I mean? She was in a sex scene several times in the season, and it's all there for so, you know what I mean? But then instantly, because Game of Thrones does incredibly well, by the second season, she's now putting clause in her fucking contract saying, no, you're going to have to get stuntable now. No, I won't do this and I won't do that because, now I'm worth something. And I just always found that really annoying when it comes to, like, actors and actresses, where it comes to the idea, if the role that you have, applied for insists on having a sex scene, unless it's really unnecessary, unless you're having, like, a director who just got to put you a hard on, like fucking Tarantino with Pete, you know what I mean? It's kind of get to a point where, like, you do your job, like, but now it seems to be, like, such an issue with it.
It can be, I mean, it's, as I say, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like, what are you looking for in, like, how's it going to be portrayed in the edit as well?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Because, like, you like closed set and lockdown sets, and it's like invasion of privacy. And then if you just look at, like, I mean, I had to one about watching this. I had to watch Love Actually probably a couple of nights later, and that whole thing where Martin Freeman's in it and he's like the sex stunt double, and they're doing all the, like, cock double, and all this kinds of stuff, and, like, just in the film worlds. But, like, I think what's beautiful about this, when the sex scene happens, I mean, Wesley Snipes is black as midnight. Like, he is, you know what I mean? And, like, when you see him having sex with Jennifer Lopez, right, there's something beautiful about it, because it's just a mix of, like, you can see, like, where her arms are all going over them. But, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Wesley Snipes, he's just, like, you just don't get much blacker than him. You know what I mean? And it's just, like, he's just, like, it's just an incredible actor and all that. But, like, again, going back to the sex scene, it's done with, like, passion. This is probably the word I've been looking for ages.
I mean, as corny as it's going to sound, they're definitely making love.
Yeah. It's passion.
There's a lot of, like,
and your passion, and then that's the thing. It's not like, or like what was it? It was a Jackie Brown when randomly was it Bridget Fonda's just getting bent over by Robert De Niro over the sink, and you think, what the fuck? And it's just like so like
totally unnecessary, not realistic. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Have you ever had your bed in the middle of a room?
I remember correctly, when it does come on that scene though, it did make us chuckle a little bit, because obviously there's a bit where when the camera dips down, and it's probably just me imagining it, but I swear to God, there's like a bit where Wesley Snipes has figured out that the camera's going to get a full shot of her tit. So I swear to God, I'm sure he like pretty much cuffs her entire tit with his hand, and then the screen just flips at that moment.
How many times have you watched that scene?
Such a fucking gentleman.
What's going on here? How many times have you watched that scene? You had said you hadn't seen this since it came out.
No, I said I hadn't seen it since I've come out, but I had to watch it last week because you wanted to do the podcast. I've got to familiarise myself with it.
I remember in school.
Half a week ago, maybe?
When we're in this, it's in the boxing scene, I remember there's a film, I mean, I haven't seen it since VHS, The Colour of Night, Bruce Willis, and you're watching it and all of a sudden Bruce Willis's cock just floats past the screen. You're like, well, I wasn't prepared for that. You know?
I've never seen a film yet, so yeah, no. Less. I was talking about the other day, obviously, when we watched Rocky 4. I don't know if there's like not much you can do with it, and I know obviously you've got the Creed franchise, but I was a big fan of boxing and stuff like that. I think we need more boxing films.
Let's just say Southpaw, Warrior, that was a juggernaut, like.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not a massive fan of boxing.
It's Rocky for UFC. I don't think it was a very accurate portrayal. It was a hell of a performance by all accounts. But like when people kept on saying, "Oh, this is Rocky for the UFC," I was like, "Not really. He's not an underdog. You know, it's not like a." I don't know. It was weird when they really marketed it that way. But as a film, I really think it was wholesome. Especially someone who didn't watch UFC either, so I had no real idea.
It was a great film, mate. But no, I'm not a massive boxing fan. I know the stamina and people get into it and want to hit things but I'm sick of them Rocky gloves at work. Like, we're on about COVID, not touching stuff. But let's see.
The reason why Newcastle got COVID.
Well, that's it. It's like, I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to make sure I sanitize my hands every fucking 5 minutes and all that. Oh, there's a Rocky glove. I'm just going to go and put it on and punch somebody in the face. Like the last.
I put my hand in the first time I saw it. I never thought about it really, but I was like, I'm going to try it on.
Well,
when you told us, you're like, yeah, I probably should think twice about
But you're like, oh yeah, it's all right. I mean, this kid the other week ran out of the shop to punch his mate. I was like, you're technically shoplifting. I was like, I'm technically shoplifting. I was like, are you too stupid to realise that you can get arrested for that? And you just, you know what I mean? No mask on, red in the face, like,
No. Fucking hell. Although I don't know if I told you, I think I told Paul, but I was in the Metro Centre not too long ago, probably just before Christmas, and I was sitting in McDonald's, and I swear to God, it was like a film. Like, all of a sudden, I saw this lad, probably early 20s, he ran
you did tell me this,
Namco, which is like the amusements for anyone who didn't know. He stopped just to look, and that was his fatal error. Because the second he stopped, the second it took him to turn his head around, two coppers literally rugby tackled him like a proper film. And it was just like, they proper had him down, and like, they must have done damage to him. Because after like 15 minutes of wrestling with him, when he stood up, he had definitely broke a rib or two the way he was walking. He could not walk properly. And I was like, wow, that's quite brave in him in his day and age. Not really allowed to do that now, are you?
Here comes a bit of a twist to the movie, back to the movie, where we're on about crime fighting. Just giving him 15 grand. And just the sad story that he actually gets pickpocketed and like he doesn't get it back. It's not a believable story. And like that's what I was saying before earlier on when he goes down the when you first see Woody Harrelson and he's sliding down the banister acting drunk. Like it should have been that woman he bumps into, like foreshadow her that she's always about. But like you just feel for him.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I say, it's like no one's ever going to believe Mother. You know, obviously, given the fact that he's always messing up, but like, not only does he spot a pickpocketer while he's being pickpocketed by an old lady.
It's just a double-ended sword, but like, But again, it's all against sending them off the rails. I just think it's a kind of like it's the gambling. It's the. I mean, a lot of good films are done by the risk of. I just couldn't do it. Like I know it happens, right? I know it goes on, and like a few people have said to me, "Oh, do you want to come for a game like that?" Nah, but like once you're in with that clique, it's like they'll happen all the time. Do you know what I mean? Private bars and all this kind of shit's all like upper class, and like you go there and people lose hundreds of thousands. But can you imagine getting into that much debt where you're like your life's at risk and that? It's like fucking hell.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we, as a group of friends, we would play all the time, but it was never money involved. The chips were there, and obviously it might be a little bit of fun and game. You know, like whoever loses got to buy a round in the next time we go out or something like that. But as far as gambling goes, nah, I'll be honest with you, I just haven't got the look for it. And don't get me wrong, I know poker is all about fucking skill, reading people and shit like that. But there's definitely a level of like luck. And the way I play, it's always like I'm Kenny Rogers, you know. Don't know when to hold them, don't know when to fold them, and I never walk away.
It's just fucking crazy. It's like when you see someone put like all the money into a bandit and then just walk away. It's kind of like, it's crazy. Look at her, she's off. Mary Poppins, robbed by Mary Poppins.
Robbed by Mary Poppins.
But again, it's like, the thing is, right, this is what I don't get about it. Like, he works the station, cops and all that, and he should be able to, like, do a favour. Oh, yeah, I got robbed. Like, check the CCTV, right, that's her. She works this system. They will eventually catch her.
But he's not a policeman. The only reason you know he's a policeman because he's got a badge. Like, I say this entire film does not depict these two as police officers at all.
I mean,
the fact that they tell you that's what they are.
If you turned up at your door and just go hi, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
While it cuts between this sexual scene I was talking about previously to him just getting... But again, look, they're shooting just underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. So it's all got to be New York filmed.
Yeah.
Just going to get an absolute hiding outside.
Yep, that's what happens. Gamble responsibly, folks.
Psh, there you go. I mean, she looks white compared to Wesley Snipes. Just saying.
She's Latino.
See, that was almost like the same scene. Just Wesley Snipes, man, he's done a lot of... so he did a film called One Night Stand. And, like... that's a film where he's breaking the fourth wall and all that. And that's got loads of sex scenes in mind.
Yeah.
There's, do you know the lass who... she's in Agents of the S.H.I.E.L.D. and that now. She plays his wife in it, and she's like, proper fuck me and all this, and he's like, what the fuck? And he's like proper like getting afraid for his life and all that.
Right.
But Robert Downey Jr.'s in that as well.
Oh.
A bit of cue the music. Robert Downey Jr. plays his best friend as well. Again, when Robert Downey Jr. was a bit off the rails, but they will work together as well in the very badly advertised Fugitive 2. Called U.S. Marshals. Because Wesley Snipes...
Oh, really? Was that them two? Was them two in there, was it?
Who's that?
Who was in that one?
What?
Snipes and...
Snipes is the fugitive, and Robert Downey Jr. is one of the new agents.
Oh, really? I never saw it, mate.
Well, that was it. The thing is that they called it Fugitive 2. People probably would have saw it more, but like Tommy Lee Jones... fair enough, Tommy Lee Jones is just doing his job in the first movie... And I think he's award winning for it. But the fact that he's now the superstar of it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But that would have been a couple of years just after this. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is in that as well. But Robert Downey Jr. was on the rails because he's in stuff like Natural Born Killers, which Woody Harrelson probably made the year before this.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone rogue. He's angry. He's pissed off. quite a sinister look, like, isn't it? But he just happened to wake up. Do you know what I mean? I mean, imagine that. Like, oh yeah, you turned up, right? Yeah. I've got the girl. At least did you pay the debt? No, I lost it. Like, what?
Well, that was it. Like, you kind of half respect the character for like just owning up. Because I mean, you would expect him to go on, yeah, all sorted. You know, because why would he want a brother to help him again, sort of thing, or to know that he fucked up again, sort of thing. So I was quite surprised when I watched it again, thinking, oh, quite a different angle, because most people would have just gone the other way.
It almost sets it up like the fact that he would die, like righting his wrongs, if you know what I mean. But obviously, set up for possibly a sequel. But they mustn't. Never got on, and now we're back to catching the torture again.
Okay, say yes, because Cooper comes back again. I mean, it's weird when you like are watching because at the time I assume he hadn't done that much. Chris Cooper at this point, he must have done a fair bit. He's not young, but.
But like again, though, a bit of a flaw with it. Like she's the guy. She's the one who got stood on. So he's not going to recognise her.
Well, I thought they would play off on the idea that she's a bit more like kind of dolled up and uniform. We might not necessarily remember her, but yeah, it definitely does. So yeah, I was just looking at the Torture's work, and they say he's also been a consistent actor. But by '95, again, it was TV. I was in Law and Order. But then, if I'm going up, there's really nothing stands out until 1999, which is American Beauty. But then 2000, he did Me, Myself and Irene and The Patriot, so Born Identity. So basically from the late 90s onwards, he started hitting some pretty big no-brainers.
Here he comes back, the creep. But okay, I suppose he does recognise, and that sets off the thing, but the stupid idea of putting her there in the first place.
Yeah.
Plays a lot of southern, doesn't he? Like Kentucky kind of redneck kind of characters, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, yeah, because depending on, I suppose he's like got that look, hasn't he? Without being kind of too stereotypical.
I've just got a message off Britt saying remind her to book Scream tickets. She was meant to book them 2 nights ago. Fail.
Yeah, I was going to say, you still not done that?
Well, now we're meant to tell you when we're going. Like, we're meant to go on Friday, but...
I know you were. I'm still waiting.
Well, Scream will be an interesting podcast series, I think, once the new one's done. Now, this is brutal. This, like, imagine, like, he pushes a guy in front of the train. Imagine, like, thinking that, whoever gets killed here, he jumped in front of a train one day when now he was fucking murdered.
I mean, like I say, it happens all the time, doesn't it, when you think of stuff like that, where it's like, someone can assume he just happened to jump one day just because he had enough.
Fucking mentalism, like, isn't it? Oh.
So there must still be good friends because, of course, we're talking about Harrison and Snipes, yeah? I just had a little look, and obviously Google, because that never lies, the first thing that comes up was over the years the two have formed an obvious bond, some might even say a bromance, at the point where Harrison once went out of his way to stick up for his friend. According to The Smoking Gun, Harrison wrote a character reference letter to help Snipes during his sentencing phase for his tax evasion trials. So I don't know.
That's the Americana thing, though, that night. It's like over here, we just get all ours just comes out of the pretty pay and all that, isn't it? It's America's a different kind of system. Isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to do you've got to write it all up individually. Anything you give to charity, anything you pay on top of beforehand. I don't know. I couldn't live in America. No, that sort of stuff.
Then you've got like the healthcare and all that. It's mental, like.
Well, listen, I mean, obviously, as I work in a museum, mostly surrounded by chemists and medicine and stuff like that, and people talk about the olden days about how medicine wasn't affordable and stuff like that. It's like, not being funny, like, but we live in 2022, and there are still parts of the world like America who people will literally lose their houses because they get poorly. You know, they're just absolutely drained. Was it take an average of $2,000 just to have someone ring an ambulance for you? It's absolutely mental.
But that's why you have the health insurance, you know what I mean?
But in America, you've got to have some decent work to get health insurance. Like, they've got Medicaid, which is something that apparently is, I would imagine, is probably like a little bit like our NHS, where it would be like if you go to the dentist, you know, most of it's covered. You don't have to pay as much as what you might pay in private. But it was kind of like, there is stuff out there, but the amount of people out there still to this day who don't even have that, absolutely insane.
I mean, you've got the money to go private healthcare. Why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, like I say, if you got the means, then totally.
But if you're ill and you save a life and all that, do you know what I mean? That should be just something like it's there. That's the health system. But this bit's a bit insane, right? Watch this kid. I mean, this is a total. Doesn't need to be in the movie. He spots it, runs halfway across the street traffic. The fucking kid's gonna have brain trauma off that fall. There's just no. I mean, that's just trying to show you like he is a decent human being. Do you know what I mean? As well, but like it's just an over. But again, you talk about where the money's gone. That's broad daylight. Yes, it's winter. It's going to be cold. It's probably late in the day by the look of the light. But like, you know, that's a horse running wild in New York. You're going to have to close down some streets for that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And here comes another fucking. Again, they're always running down the fucking train tracks in like New York.
That's just movie Money Train.
I mean, he just came out of nowhere. That was a Jurassic Park moment. That like, peekaboo, I'm here.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you can tell it's the 90s, man. He's got the Wesley Snipes is rocking like the Kangol backwards kind of hat going.
Oh yeah.
Just happens to throw him over. Train coming.
I mean, going back before, like when Torch first starts running, it is amazing that Woody Harrelson didn't hit anybody. And he like takes off like 20 shots in the subway.
Who? Train just happens to be coming along. Douche. And I think that's another trailer shot there. Wesley Snipes. Boom.
Yes. Well, that's his second time, isn't it? Second time he's nearly been hit by a train.
I mean, to be honest with you,
there's a stun bump that though, isn't it?
There's been a few times I've waited at Durham train station waiting for a train or something like that, and you look and you go, nah, you'd be clearly dead if you tried to crawl in that when a train went past.
Yeah. It wouldn't be that the train would get you, it would just be some random loose piece of metal that would hook your pants or something like that. It would just completely clip you.
There he is, he's back. Master of the wig, Woody Harrelson, like.
Because you've got some pretty impressive hair going on.
That's got to be a wig. He would have been.
Yeah.
He would have been.
Probably a bottom part. I would imagine the top part is his hair, but it's probably like an extension, probably like under his ears.
Well, why would you pick that? I mean, that was probably the hairstyle he was rocking in Cheers for years, wasn't he?
Well, this is it, yeah. Obviously, if you look at it, like most white men at that time.
White Morks? What was that going to be? White Morks.
No, I didn't talk properly. I'd like to think it was something I was going to say cleverly, but no, I just forgot how to talk for a second. White men had long, luxurious hair back in them days. I'm still bringing it back to them. Did something just finish?
Oh, yeah. I may have pressed the wrong button, but there we go. We're still going.
Right.
You are finished, both of yous. Finished. Well, what was that? Sounded like Columbia's TriStar starting again?
No, just press the wrong button. we're playing Snap, mate.
Well, at least first test of the new phone. I mean, I haven't heard the audio back yet. To be honest with you, I don't even know where the dog is, you know. Hang on.
She's on the staircase, isn't she?
She was. I'm just going to check where she is. You keep talking, Carl.
Right, so obviously I'm on my own, so I'm going to have to talk about what's going on. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not a terrible film. I mean, I think you've got to be of a certain age. I think if a younger person watches this today, they'll be like, what's this garbage? But that nostalgia
Be quiet a minute, Carl.
Movie, action film.
Quiet a minute.
It plays its role.
Right, Carl's not listening.
Sorry.
Carl's not listening. I was going to wait there. I was going to take the camera. I've just totally fucked up this podcast and realised we're not actually showing the video footage of it. So I'm going to go and get my backup camera. Keep talking.
Alright, so back to the audience again. So yeah, no, I mean, like I say, this has got all the action tropes going for a typical 90s action film, but what it's trying to be, I have no idea. Had there been maybe let's just say Snipes and Harrison are two grifters. This is how I spitball it. Two grifters, con men, who are essentially always up against each other. They come together, to then do the ultimate heist, which is the money train. Do that with this same kind of genre. I think you have a much more solid film. I mean, at this point, it just you're in the motion now, but I just think with the idea of it being at the cops, like I say, you just don't believe it. The fact that you see the badge twice and then we're in like over an hour. They've never been really in a police station or anything that's significantly like a police station that stands out. So yeah, I think they had a mediocre script and they thought if we get some two big solid names, we've got ourselves an easy money maker. But then think of 95, you've got this one, you've got Bad Boys. There's two ways of doing it, and clearly I think we've all established that Bad Boy got it right. And even that's saying a lot considering I'm not the biggest Michael Bay fan. Don't mind Bad Boys. You can't not like Armageddon. That's just one of the best over-the-top action films ever. But other than that, can't forgive him for Turtles, so that's my gripe with him. Are you back, Mason?
I've been back ages while you fucking recite the Bible. Jesus Christ. Well,
back when Jesus was sitting watching Mason's podcast.
Well, I went in the other room and the dog is literally sprawled, legs wide open, staring at the sky, right where I sleep. I was going to take the camera in and realise, it's recording the podcast and we're not using the footage, so there will be an outtake at the very end of this video of the dog. Completely just...
What did you put in her tea like?
Well, before the podcast, she just dragged the entire bowl of food up the stairs, so...
Impressive that she didn't spill any of it, like. Or could I not see it on the camera?
That's... mate, it was all down the stairs.
Oh, I couldn't see it on the camera. You got a nice dark carpet, you can't notice it.
So, and it's back to the beaten...
good old pub toilet stall. And that also looked like a proper pub toilet stall as well, didn't it? Toilets don't look like that these days.
Yeah, pretty grim toilets, like.
Yeah, but worst toilet in movie history. It's got to be Trainspotting, right?
That's a positive shot. Apparently one of the weirdest toilets I've ever been in was in Bulgaria, and I was in there with Dave Rutherford, and I hate the day because it was filmed on his digital camera, and I was like, why did I never film it? Because like he was, oh, look at this, and like we were in the back end of fucking nowhere, like literally. I think we were in Rusa, and there was just a hole in the floor to shit in.
Right.
Like that was it.
I've seen that before, not personally in height, but
but it was the shit. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, right? You can put a hole in the fucking toilet. I mean, this was quite a big pub, but it was like the fact is, no one was cleaning up. People miss aiming. I mean, people can't piss straight, never mind shit straight. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Like, I mean, with my back and my knees, right? I don't know if I could shit in a squatting position.
Well, that's it.
I'm going to foul, aren't I, at some point, and especially if you then throw in a couple of pints as well.
I mean, I know you work in a history museum where you've got outhouses and fucking, you probably could finish up this podcast where you're fucking how to scoop out a fucking shithouse in the old days of Beamish. But yeah.
Well, of course, I mean, what else do you put in the field to get your veggie going?
I might try that with my tree outside my house that hasn't started to grow. So again, this is all on location because that's a very popular location as well because that's used in the Spider-Man game.
Right, yeah.
So this is another film that in that era where New York's been open to like bring films in, but they just seem to keep it more comedies and romance stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned in the epilogue when you disappeared, it's just the biggest problem with this film is that they don't know what they're going for. I mean, what happened to Jennifer Lopez? You know what I mean? She's
almost out of the picture now. He is badass here, but here's the scene.
The build her up to be something, and if it just been without the sex scene, then that kind of would be forgivable. With the fact that they build it up to the fact that where they actually have a serious relationship, or at least develop something, you'd expect something to come from it.
Well, look at this here. This is the whole. There's the backstory of like Hook's little brother, and like he walks in here, and he's just a badass, knows his way around this club, and walks in and just completely and utterly levels the place, and like, you know, all done by.
This is where he has his fun, though, isn't it? This is where they turn around and say, right, we're not going to give you much of a script. Just show us what you can do in terms of your martial arts.
I mean,
this is basically Snipes' moment to go, right, this is where I can have a play.
I mean, another film that was just massive we haven't spoken about, which would have been only 2 years prior to this, Passenger 57.
Yeah.
Huge film for Snipes. He's just a monster here, man.
Alright.
Sugar Hill's another film he did this time, which is quite good, but more serious driver.
Is that based on a band?
No.
I'd love to be able to do Rapper's Delight.
He's fucking fast as fuck, Wesley Snipes, like.
Oh, well, this is it. He's kind of like the perfect package, isn't he? We mentioned earlier on, he can do funny, he can do drama, he's got the athleticism. You know, when you think of it, no wonder he's getting all these roles, because he was literally the perfect person if you wanted action.
Yeah, but he was teamed up with a lot of people as well. Sean Connery, Stallone. But this bit here, when he jumps up, he gives him the who you calling the N, and he jumps up and gives him the roundhouse kick, and it's just like, how over the top do you want to fucking be?
Well, that's how Chuck Norris that, like. Do you think he should have been bigger?
Who?
Chuck Norris. Now, I don't mean that to say that he wasn't big. Chuck
Norris
is, you can't say the name Chuck Norris without people knowing who he was. But he didn't do many blockbusters, did he?
I was just thinking the other day, where did I see Chuck Norris? And I'm like, I watched Scary Movie. I said, no, he wasn't scary. WrestleMania 7 I was watching, and there's a bit where they have the celebrities come down, and like Chuck Norris is there with Lou Ferrigno, and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah? No,
I'd agree with you, yeah.
Alright. But Chuck Norris, no, I mean, it's like he had them Miss 80s movies. I mean, he got a little bit of track following. But like Texas Walker Ranger was just massive in America.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah, that's what that was the only one I could have mentioned if I was to think off the top of my head. That and his cameo in Dodgeball, that seemed to stick with us all the time when he's one of the judges.
Well, that's it. He just seems to be like...
It could become the meme.
He looks like he's a very smart business guy. Made his money, invested it well. Is enough to like have a quiet life or whatever life he wants. And doesn't need to, you know what I mean?
There's a train.
What do you mean, where's the train? Jennifer Lopez has just turned up.
No, I said, there's the train. Am I ahead of you? It's in the present.
Oh, he's just looking at the present now.
Right. Spoiler alert, it's a train.
No, yeah. The money train. There's the train.
There's a train. It wouldn't be a podcast if one of us didn't sync out a little bit.
It's normally Paul Ray that's out of sync.
I know, that's true.
You know what I was
You mentioned about the quality of your new phone. I don't think it's your phone, but I will say probably like the first couple of minutes, even probably before we went, when we came live on the podcast, it took a while for the reception to settle. Like,
on your side of it. You've been fine over here.
But it could be me, it could be you. Cause, I mean, I know you're high up, but I've never had problems. Like I say, like you've just said it, like normally Paul Ray. But mate, it's absolutely ridiculous. My house, sometimes you think I lived in the sticks.
We do live in
I
the
just
sticks.
cannot get reception to save my life. In fact, it's a miracle that you get these networks now who let your phone on Wi-Fi. Because if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't get in touch at all.
So we're in the New Year's.
Yes, 2022. Still sending out smoke signals. See, now, as far as the story goes, I mean, I know he's hard on his luck, but even beforehand, he was very, he was very adamant that robbing a train was, like, a really good idea. In my head, I just can't get past the fact that we've already established that deep down he's a good guy. You know, he saved those kids and stuff like that, but at the same time, he's made too much of an easy transaction from being the cop who does the good thing to literally robbing a train.
Well, the problem as well with it is the fact that you never see where he lives or where he comes from. I mean, the scenes that take place, it's a bit confusing. Does he live above Wesley Snipes? You know what I mean? And then Wesley Snipes, well, why don't you come back to the old neighbourhood often?
Yeah, no. He definitely didn't live anywhere near him, because I think when the first talked about it, he turned around and said, are you going to call in for a bit? So he definitely established that he lives somewhere else.
I mean, there's no faking that with CGI, mate. That is literally filmed on New Year's Eve in Times Square. You know what I mean? That there is no, like... You wouldn't even fake, can we fake New Year's Eve for a Wesley Snipes Woody Harrelson film? No. Can Wesley Snipes be in fucking New York City? Yeah, and just, you know, like put a camera there. No one's really going to really bat an eyelid, you know what I mean?
Well, they have cut on them, man. They are pissed. Although that camera must be hard to judge. I mean, you've got Snipes running through the crowd. You can only see his bicycle helmet. So they must have had a crane over.
It's just too deep behind, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say, there's a thing called Zoom, I suppose. But there's Snipes totally unnecessarily riding his bike in the subway, trying to get as much attention as he possibly can.
We're not there yet. Now he's just going down the subway. He's just gone down the stairs.
Well, I'm there.
You should be paused.
Well, I was going to, but I realised it's literally like 5 seconds behind. If anything, I'll end up being like 10 seconds ahead of you or behind you.
He's about to go down the escalator. At this point, he could clearly get up, but no, he's on the escalator.
Yeah, it's just totally unnecessary. I mean, obviously, it's a stunt. It's a case of going, like, how much can we get away with at this point? And, I mean, he didn't have to... We don't.
Yeah, we are.
Right in front of the train. I just want to get there for you.
Right, he's literally about to, like, jump off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a stunt, that.
Oh, yeah. Good.
You haven't noticed anyway? No squeaky chair?
Oh, you haven't got a squeaky. Did you get a new one?
No, I've borrowed Brit's, because Brit's obviously still at work. So I've borrowed her
Right.
hard base one.
Oh, right.
So there's no swivel.
Are you going to slowly but surely steal it?
Nah, it's too bloody heavy to get through the rooms, man.
Expensive computer chair like that, man.
I paid, I think, 65 for that one. Hasn't even lasted 3 months. Brit's just on the bus.
Oh, shoot. Ah, bless her. Being a long trip for her. Or did she start this afternoon?
No, I start this afternoon, yeah.
Well, I'm just getting ready to go back to work Saturday. As it happens, we aren't open Monday to Friday anymore. Not for January anyway. So I'm essentially off Monday to Friday for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not happening during the week now. I thought, at the end of the day. Another thing we talked about as well going into Christmas, because we all went to see Rocky and stuff like that, and that was really cool to do. But obviously the whole, you know, a lot of people thought we'd be back in lockdown in January, you know, and like we would start joking about other series and stuff like that, so.
Well, I mean, I got word from a friend whose daughter works in a hospital in Newcastle, QA.
Jesus Christ.
Apparently they all got notified that they were estimating the 5th of January was going to be another lockdown. So it hasn't happened, but still, probably should.
You could have just said, I know somebody, but no, it had to be a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Well, because I've never met her. I'm not going to claim to know someone if I don't know them.
Well, you couldn't have just said, I heard a rumour.
The father. I didn't want to go into detail and go with the father, the daughter, or the mother, so I just thought friend of a friend.
So West Texas foiled the plan and got to the train before anybody else.
Yeah.
And why is
Well, he had his motorcycle, didn't he? So. And I'm not going to lie, when Woody Harrelson popped his head out of the grate and those coppers on the horses, I'm not going to lie, if he'd been good enough, he could have snuck out there with it. They were a good distance away.
Oh, and it's dark.
If he was quiet, he would have totally been able to get out of there and nobody would have even noticed him.
And they're off again.
Oh, here comes Lopez in the future.
Little Women's playing at the pictures.
Decent film.
That's a film you never see, a car you never see. Is it a Firebird?
Firebird. Never heard of it.
Well, the car's there. The car Jennifer Lopez is driving.
Ah, yeah, I thought you were on about a film. I was going to say, I've never heard of it. I was going to say Firebirds. Everyone had one of them in the 80s and the 90s, didn't they?
Aye, not in England.
Nah, we had Mini Coopers. We were better. Although they're a very similar type of car, and it's a Ford. I'm forgetting the model now, but there was an old garage not far away from me. There was a bit of a dumping ground as well, but it's where I used to walk my dog. And it was bright yellow, and it looked well sporty. And in my head, I was like, if I ever learn to drive, I might go and talk to him and just say, listen, I'll take it off your hands and get someone to do it up. Then I realised how expensive it was to do cars up. I was like, yeah, we'll leave it.
Bleed the brakes.
Short story of a car's life.
Bleed the
Anyway,
brakes.
did you hear my idea what I think this film should have been?
No.
So it was when you disappeared, but then when you complained about being back and I was going on too long. So I reckon if you imagine, right, if Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson were two characters, like, well, like traditionally known as grifters, if they were like kind of almost competing, so they happen to be in the same area, but then in this particular case, they end up getting like, you know, the same idea, or if a job comes up where the money train is like the main job, then they team up, and then they do the big con artist thing when the big con of robbing a train. Take that idea and run with this time frame and all these actors. I think it would have been a much better film. I still have a hard time believing that these two are cops.
I mean, the idea of them stealing the train, it has been really, really flushed out to be unbelievably flushed out, you know what I mean? But nowadays, with CGI technology, they couldn't get away with it because there'd be cameras on it everywhere.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, they know where the train is at all times, so they've got the technology, but I suppose America at that time probably weren't skipping, the idea of we don't need to spend money on cameras. We'll just give 20 police armed and semi-automatic rifles. Go America.
I mean, he doesn't realise it's them even when he speaks to them and all that, and it's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to be pissed when he finds out.
So there's a lot of these scenes we're just talking about here as well, used again in Stigmata. There you go. Cops and SWAT teams and everything. Do you think they're going to stop a train?
I mean, you saw how far that kid flew back at the beginning of the film, so with a couple of automatics and some shotgun, that train stand no chance.
I've had this a long time on video, but like the one Afrin was selling was a red tape, and I remember there being a white and a blue, just depending on who you rented it from, either being independent or Blockbusters or Global Video. And I just remember this being very, very heavily trailered, and as I say, I've always had fond memories of it. Like that's what, again, like redoing these podcasts, because the last couple of podcasts I've actually done alone, just for like, well, let's get one done, especially when building this new archive away from that. But like, I've done like Cuffs and like, One Crazy Summer. But again, we'll have to get Paul Ray back, because this is what, fun memories of when you discover these movies, or like the case of like when we haven't seen it before.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say, I don't know, I don't even know if you've got it, mate. I'd have to source it out myself, but I know Paul Ray loves it, but obviously there's a bit of information today. Tank Girl.
Oh yeah, I haven't got it. No, I've got it on video.
Apparently, it just got popped up on the internet today, saying apparently a rumor of a reboot with Margot Robbie. And I was just saying to Paul the other day, I was just saying, I've never seen that film.
It's fucking wild, like.
To sit and watch.
Wait, I used to teasing it.
It's one of those. It's infamous, There's probably a list, a good couple of hundred films out there that I probably 100% should have seen, but then I never get around to it, or they somehow escape me. Or, like I say, in my opinion, it was the downfall of the video shop.
Yeah.
I think once the video shop went, you didn't have access to film, but, it was always nice to go and rent a couple of videos knowing that you give it back after a while. Whereas, like, the idea of, like, for me personally, going out and buying, I had to be very specific on the certain things that I actually bought to keep.
Well, at the end of the day, when videos came out, you would like rent them, and then you couldn't. Here comes Bill Nunn, who again is Wesley Snipes' goon in New Jack City.
Right.
But like you would take a chance on a video box. Like Netflix now, you get fair enough, you get a trailer, but then if you sometimes see a trailer, you probably like video art, the art of video art. You go, oh, I'll try that. Oh, I like their last film. Then you watch a trailer. Oh, that looks shit. The CGI looks shit. I'm watching that. Like this is one of these films where it was discovered by VHS. Like even if people didn't see it, the pictures, it would come out and Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, early one, and like I think this is where this film thrived a bit,
Well, no, there's a handful of videos out there that literally flopped at the cinema, but thrived on VHS. Clerks was one of them. That was one of the all-time favourites, where apparently that was like, I think Kevin Smith had mentioned, I don't know if it was just in New Jersey or whether it was a broader stroke, but apparently it was eventually got the title of the most stolen rental videotape in certain areas. Apparently it was just one of those things where as soon as it came out on video, people went absolutely mental for it. But then, like I say, you're living in an era where, like I say, especially for me, we didn't go to the cinema all the time. I only went to a cinema on a special occasion. Too much money, or just didn't have access to it.
Oh, it wasn't.
So to me, it was all about the VHS. That's the only how.
Well, the thing is about pictures back then, like it wasn't like you could book online or like, when me and Britt were talking about when we watched Scream 2 the other night, where people are queuing and not knowing if they're actually going to get into the showing of the movie because they're waiting in line to get the ticket at the foyer. Like now, it's kind of like, I mean, me and you and Paul the other week, man, waiting for popcorns in that whole like foyer. What a waste of fucking space the Odeon is, man. That front bit.
Yeah.
And like the
Well,
whole.
to be honest with you, it's really struggling at the moment. I think that they're holding their head above water just slightly. I was talking to one of the lads the other day, and apparently they are so short-staffed. I mean, it's very clear because I think most of the films aren't being put on until at least about 12 o'clock. So I do think they're massively struggling. But yeah, when you look at other places, it's not doing well. Like.
It's the experience. That's the problem with the Odeon now. It's too streamlined.
Yeah. Well, this is it, and they've lost focus on the detail. Because, I mean, obviously, we talked about the other day how I went to see a film at Everyman. And don't get me wrong, it is a newer cinema. It's not brand new, but it's a newer cinema. And I'll be honest with you, there is a world difference between the screen. In some of the screens in the Odeon, I'll not lie, you can, if you really focus, you can see like dirt marks. It don't clean the projector screen.
Yeah.
As much as they should. Whereas I was watching a film in Everyman, I was like, wow, this is like almost 4K quality.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
think
Everyman's a perfect example,
used
yeah.
to seeing the Odeon that I've kind of not realised, but at the same time, it's
I mean, Everyman's somewhat what we could do.
Just nearly died.
Huh? Oh, his head.
His friend just nearly died.
I mean, saying like that, I mean, with like Everyman's something we could do, like podcasts in the restaurant and that after, you know what I mean? It seems like you could do,
Yeah.
you would want to make the extra effort for stuff like that, but also looks like your place that you could possibly rent as well, to view films. The
Yeah.
Odeon, get in, get your popcorn. Like, I walked in there, what did we go and see? One of the last ones I went to
Was it
see.
Christmas one, wasn't it?
No, it was one of the last ones I went to see at the Odeon where,
Oh, right.
I'm forgetting where we were going. What me and Brick go and see, man. You have to help us jog my memory here. And they were like, we're not ready yet. I was like, well, the doors are open. I've got my ticket. Why can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the fuck was it?
Was it out very recently?
Yeah. It wasn't Spider-Man, because I went on my own to see that. Can't think now. The buggers now.
I'm going to say Kingsman.
No, I didn't ever go and see that.
No.
Oh, it was Hook.
Oh, Hook. Oh, right, okay, so... Yeah, I was meant to see that, but never did. Never managed it.
They were like, oh, you've got to wait. And I'm like, well, your doors are open and all that. And then, sorry. There's a couple of scenes specifically here, actually in Stigmata. I think it's when she has a mental breakdown.
But see, if you hadn't told me that, I'll be sitting there going, this is where the money's spent. This is where it's starting to look like they're doing...
Oh, but no, I'm saying Stigmata borrowed this
Money
footage.
Train is like a tin can, like, so...
No, like, I mean, this is where... I mean, it was... They've borrowed it from Money Train. It's not like they've took it from Stigmata.
No.
Jennifer Lopez is still driving around.
Yeah. Well, she needed to be involved, didn't she, somehow?
Alright.
So it's funny, it's been so long since I watched this. When you first mentioned Money Train, I actually imagined... do you remember a film called Unstoppable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chris Pine and the Denzel.
Do you remember a film? Wasn't that old ago? I mean, I do work in film, you know.
Well, no, I couldn't tell you the age. I literally couldn't. It feels like it was what... Well, I thought this was early 2000s, so I feel like it was what? Was that early 2000s? Unstoppable, or was it closer to 2010s?
2013-ish, I would have said.
I think that's my lot in life, you know, when people start to like lose their eyesight and people start to lose it when they get older. To me, I swear to God, it's my memory. I've got to refer to like storing so much history in my head that I feel like it's the little things that just escape me completely. I'll be sitting there going, oh, that was like years ago, wasn't it? It was like, Carl, it was last week. Oh, okay. Honestly, mate, when it comes to like, especially old films as well, I'd always think they're much, much older than they are. Or it can go the other way sometimes. I'll just be like, yeah, that wasn't that long ago. When you see something like 20th anniversary or something like that, it's like, crikey.
And they do the train hop.
Mm-hmm. Is that I'm going to say you're in the industry. Is that Godfather? Is that an anniversary or is that just a 4K that I just released?
I don't know. It's Empire's.
I'm sure I saw an advert this morning. I thought it was like the 4K trilogy box set.
Well, no one replied to me the other day on the group.
Versions of it.
When I seen a version of Cruel Intentions advertised on the bus, I was like, what?
Yeah, what we do a lot about. I remember you messaging that.
Well, no one mentioned it. I thought, like, you know what I mean? I'm like...
Well, I think we're all just sitting there going, oh, Melly, he's been on something tonight.
Oh.
He done the sauce again. No, because what was that? Was that just what, the original? Or the sequels?
Cruel Intentions on a new bus. Big stunt here, like.
The most rewound scene ever. Sherman Showgeller and Selma Blair.
Boom. There you go. Look at that for a fucking stunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally would be taking down fucking city streets, that man.
Just a little train, man.
React to a train. I mean, look at that, man. Carnage.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's a miniature.
Oh, that would have been aye.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I know it's not a real thing, but like, it looked quite good for its age.
I will find yous, and they're just like gradually walking along.
Well, of course, it's a subway, and something terrible happened. If they weren't there, it'd be suspicious.
I'll find you. And then setting up the whole double punch thing that's been coming for ages.
Yep. Well, I could say they both had one each, haven't they?
Yeah. You fuck with my train, I'll kill you. He just fucking leashes him, flies back and all that. It's like, fuck off. Oh, excuse me.
I can see, are you recovered now, or are you still feeling a bit rough?
Oh, man, I'm still feeling it. Like, I'm surprised I haven't been coughing my head off. I mean, it's not like I got COVID or anything, but
nah.
I got a couple of new masks the other week, and I think they got us.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like, there's also like where we live now in terms of like this time of year and the fact that obviously we are dealing with COVID. I think everyone kind of like just catching bugs and all sorts.
A New Year celebration, just walk out.
Oh, Lopez is on the scene.
Oh, she's gone, left her.
Ah, that was a bit cheesy. That's fist in the air.
Why are you so fat for?
That was one of the things I was meant to do, probably about 3 years ago. Circumstances changed, unfortunately, but I had it all planned out. I was booked in a hotel about 10 minutes away from Times Square. And I was it had a rooftop bar. So essentially that would have been the view. And I was just like, set it up, so I was going to like leave on Boxing Day. And then I'd be there for like, I think 2 days after New Year, something like that. It was like kind of a quick getaway. But one day.
One day indeed. And they're back to, I mean, John and Charlie. I mean, the trainers coming again, then walking away, laughing, joking, buddy cop comedy. It kind of works.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as a film, I don't hate it. It's not something that, I mean, like I say, if you go on like Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's only like 20% or something like that. And that's critics and audience, so it just didn't go down well with anybody. But I don't know, like, it's a fun watch. That you do invest in them two. If it wasn't them two in there back and forth, you'd lose track on a lot of what was going on in the film. I mean, still not quite sure what sort of film it is, but it was good fun. And I think there's a lot to say about film like that in the early 90s. It was all about the idea of just, films weren't meant to be dissected. Or did it do this? Did it do that? Or did it have this? Or did it have that? Did it include this person?
Well, this is made. This is made for rental though. This, you know what I mean? It's like a different. Netflix is a different cup of tea. Like Netflix, you don't rent stuff. It's there. You want to watch it, you watch it. No one sees like how many views it's had or likes and all that. It's not like that on Netflix. And like some of the artwork, like it's totally misleading or changing or like. For example, Samuel L. Jackson being on the one for RoboCop, and you're like, it's fucking RoboCop.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm still a bit bitter about that film. I almost give it a second chance as well. I never bought it, but I was almost going to watch it for a second time. It was on Netflix or something like that, and I was just like, give it another watch. And I thought better of it. I was like, nah, actually, if I'm going to spend so much time watching RoboCop, I might watch the original.
So, how many money trains out of 10?
I see, this is very tricky, because, like I say, as a film that I can just sit and enjoy, out of 10, I would say that this gets like. So I can't deny the flaws, so I'm going to say 7.
Oh, that's
I feel like I'm being generous. As a film, you need structure and you need to understand like the point. Like if you go from point A, B, C, D, that doesn't work in this film. This goes A, C, D, F, G, Y, 2. It's all over the place. But as a film itself, and can I sit and enjoy it? Yes, I can. So I reckon a 7, just purely because. Yes, Knights and Harrison. I mean, I love them two as actors, so it works for me. And who didn't want to see Jennifer Lopez get a freak on?
Just saying there, the stunt coordinator was called Gil, and the 2 kids that Woody Harrison grabs are called Gil, so obviously his kids.
Right.
I was going to go 4, but since you went that, I'd probably just say middle of the road, say 5.
Oh.
Well, hang on, right? It's like... hiya, Hira. Are you the mental dog has finally joined us?
She woke up.
4 woke her up. Can you stay away from the camera, please?
And rightly so. No, because this is the podcast. This is the place where we don't get to judge each other's enjoyment. So if you want to say 4, stick with it. I just personally think 4 is a bad film. I think if you're going below half marks, then it's a bad film. But I don't know. You seem to enjoy it.
I mean, right. I'll go up a bit. Right. I'll go to 5. I mean, I do have the Laserdisc framed on my wall, so there is some love for the movie.
Yeah.
But like as you said, I mean, it's a Christmas movie. That's not a Christmas movie. It has some great stunts. It's to me personally, it's got joy feelings of trailer. Jennifer Lopez is absolutely stunning in it. The train is coming, baby. Performed by Shaggy. Making Love, performed by 112. I think the chemistry's there. I just don't think it's the right movie for them to be back. I think this could have worked better without it could have worked better without the brotherhood.
It's a dodgy version of an action film, but still.
So yeah. Oh, I've got a video sent to us. Could be dangerous. From Cooper.
Oh.
So one thing we didn't get on there is the dogs are stood on me bare foot. Get in or get out the way. Money Train is the tagline for the movie. And the Daily Express said great thrills and breathtaking stunts, and it was duplicated on from the VHS to the DVD, which are very similar. Hipper than Die Hard and more strikingly charged than Speed, apparently. And do you know what the big tagline is on the back of the box, just to end this, mate? The bad boys, Wesley and Woody, are back.
Is that what it's on there, is it?
Yep.
Oh, I tell you what, I don't even know if that's on my list.
That's a choice. I haven't VHS still.
Taglines we have, just to finish off, obviously. If you're a criminal, stay on the train. It's terrible. Get on or get out the way. Essentially just what you've told Hira. Get on and get out of the way without the capital letters. So that was obviously someone out. And then get on the fast track. That's probably like, that might go on like as a list of the 4 worst taglines for a film.
I mean, it is Columbia Pictures. Peter's Entertainment's just been there. Big logo that you only see at the very end of the DVD. And this is the era before watching for extras. DVD menu screens just popped up. It just played straight through. It does have the trailer and audio setup. So yeah, we're going to have to end this now as I'm waiting on Brit coming home. Ow, that was my shoulder. This has been the first podcast for 2022. Me and Carl will take the helm for the first start of the year, just until Paul Ray gets them. It just depends on me and Paul Ray's shifts. We have been looking to bring in newer people as well to the podcasts. I even forgot Sluggy even did podcasts with us. But yeah,
yes, we've only done about 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, but we'll do some more, and hopefully eventually with Paul Ray finish our Jaws series, which we have started.
Yes.
Which isn't out by the time we film this. So for now, I've been Steve Monkey Mason, and I've been joined along with Carl McSorley for Money Train. Thanks for listening. Goodbye for now.
Always a pleasure.